Hi, my name is Michelle and I'm going to show you how I took a beautiful but very scratched up and dinged mid-century dresser and gave it a new lease of life by painting the base of it black and redoing the drawers. So without further ado, let me take you through the process of what I did to this dresser to make it beautiful again. So this beautiful dresser I found at a Habitat for Humanity restore, which is basically an op shop or a thrift store, and it was $60. So I was super ecstatic about that because I loved the low boy style with the 9 drawers. It was in rough shape though. It had a lot of scratches, a lot of dents. There were pieces of veneer missing on the drawers. But I thought that I would be able to give it some love and give it a new lease of life. Now I know some people think it's a crime to paint mid-century wooden pieces, but the shape that this was in, it was a little above my skill set to restore it. So what I decided to do was paint the base black and do my best to restore the drawers. So my first step was washing this piece, because it was quite dirty. So the first thing I did, I put some Dawn dish soap in some warm water and I went over the whole piece, got it all nice and clean. And then I went back over with just warm water. And this is to wipe off any residue left behind by the Dawn dish soap. The Dawn dish soap is a degreaser, which helps get off any grime that's accumulated over the years. And then the plain hot water just helps us get a nice clean base for sanding, restaining the drawers and painting the base of the dresser. So after I'd finally got it clean, my next step was to fill in any scratches or dents within the dresser. Now on the base of the dresser, I just used normal wood filler. I think it was Elmers wood filler. And then on the drawers, I wanted to use a stainable wood filler because I knew I was going to restain the drawers. So I filled in all my holes, I let that dry. The one thing that was handy about the stainable wood filler was that it changed color as it dried, which is handy. After my wood filler had dried, I sanded down the base of the dresser and I sanded down all the drawers as well. And with the drawers, I made sure I gave all of the drawer front a good sanding because I was going to use a gel stain on them. And on the base of the dresser, I just gave it a good scuff sand, which means I used quite a high grit sandpaper. I used 220 grit, I believe. Which means it's not that coarse, it's quite a fine sandpaper because all I'm doing is creating a little bit of roughness so that my paint will stick better to it. So after everything was sanded, I wiped them all down to get off any sanding dust. And then on the base of the dresser, I decided to paint it black and I used Melange's One Paint in their black. And what I liked about this is that it had an inbuilt top coat in it, which was very nice. I did decide to prime the base of the dresser first. You don't have to, but just because I'd sanded through the finish in a lot of places, I didn't want any of the wood tannins popping through, and I wanted a smooth surface for my paint to go onto. So I primed this with a primer just to make it a little bit of a smoother surface. But for adhesion purposes, I could have just gone on with the Melange paint, but I wanted to make sure none of the wood tannins popped through where I'd sanded through the finish. And I sprayed on the Melange paint, so that worked really nicely. I use a Wagner 3000 spray gun, which I quite like. It gives me a nice smooth finish and is generally quicker than painting with a paintbrush or rolling with a roller. And I ended up doing 2 coats of the black paint. So once the paint had dried, I went in with Fusion's furniture wax, and I put on 1 coat of that with a brush I had that made it very easy to put on. And then I let that dry according to the instructions on the packet. And I came back in with a buffing pad and I just buffed the wax off after that. I didn't need to put the wax on because Melange's one paint actually has a built-in top coat, which I love, but I did just want to give it just that little bit of extra protection. So I put the furniture wax on as well, and it just gave it a nice little sheen and luster as well, which I really liked. As to the drawers, after I had sanded them down, what I did was I put on Minwax's gel stain in Walnut, and I put a decently thick coat of that on, left it for the 3 minutes that it says to do so on the instructions, and then I wiped that off. To allow 24 hours for the gel stain to dry before you go in with your top coat. And I used Minwax's Polycrylic as my top coat in a satin finish, and I ended up doing 2 coats of the Polycrylic to protect the drawers. And I just like to use, it's actually a brush I get from our dollar store, and I just find it works really well. I don't get brush marks, and it puts the polycrylic on really well. So after I had put on our top coat with the polycrylic and it had dried beautifully on the drawers, what I did is I went in with Howard's Bead and Wax, which is, it's like beeswax and orange oil, and I went through the inside of the drawers with that, and that just rejuvenates the wood, especially because the inside of these drawers had a lot of scratches and marks on them. And so what I had done is I had sanded down the inside of these drawers to refresh them, And so the Howard's Feed and Wax just helped seal it again, but also bring out the beautiful color of the wood within the drawers. So if you're liking this content and you like DIY projects and furniture flips, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more. And now to my favorite part of making over furniture. I'll give you a reminder of what this dresser looked like when I first picked it up. It was beautiful and I loved the shape of it. It was just in a little bit of rough condition with some scratches and dinks. But here is what it looks like afterwards.